Something about the holidays really changes how you see your house. It's basically a reality check. Like how no matter what, the party always ends up in the kitchen. And my kitchen is so not great. I never think about the guest bathroom until it's being judged by actual guests. And the sheer number of kids in and out of our house over break, they definitely need their own hangout space. To top it off, my New Year's resolution to exercise more might actually have a fighting chance if we had a home gym. That's why I've been thinking about Mosby Building Arts. They're a remodeling company here in St. Louis that understands how real life plays out at home. So no matter what room could use a refresh, Mosby can help. Check out callmosby.com for inspiration. Then call 314-909-1800 to schedule your free in-home brainstorming session. It's a great way to start the year. That's callmosby.com, 314-909-1800.
Welcome back, Tiger fans, to Rockin' Radio's football podcast. I'm Nate Edwards. That's Nathan Hurst. This is Before the Box Score. And Pence hates me.
That was loud. It was emphatic.
I know. Levi, fix that in post. We're going to play Kansas. And part of my French, 5-year-olds plug your ears. Fuck them. I hope they do. But yeah, we were here. We are going to be talking about some bummer news from Eli Drinkwitz. We're going to be talking about some last parting shots from the first game that we got to watch almost a week ago at this point. And then we're going to preview the sons of bitches that live in Lawrence, Kansas. Hey, Nathan Hurst, doesn't it feel good to hate again?
I never stopped hating. So,
yeah, there you go.
That's just like the Hulk. My secret is I never stopped.
There you go.
It's easy. It's an easy hate. When we're talking about the Jayhawks, it's an easy hate, and it's one that you don't have to turn off. You can just leave it on, leave it simmering on the stove for what now 14 years. It's been
14
simmering,
years.
and it's just starting to boil back over again.
Yeah. Last time Missouri played Kansas, number one, they won. Just want to remind everybody about that. Number two, I was single, I was childless, and I was living in Columbia still. And I had none of those things right now. That's been the case for quite some time. So it's been a while since Missouri and Kansas got to give CTE to each other on the football field. Very excited for this to happen. Let's knock out the bummer news first and foremost. We all kind of saw it coming. We all figured it was going to happen, but officially... let's start with Blake Craig. He's out from the season. Torn ACL. Had surgery on it on, I believe, Labor Day, which is fun for the doctors involved there, and I'm sure for him as well. But he is out for the season. Did you see the grainy Zapruder film of him getting injured? Did you spot that on social media?
I did. It really wasn't a contact injury, which these types of injuries often are non-contact. He looked like he tried to change direction and hit part of his body went one direction and the other part went the other direction. And that's how things tear, unfortunately, especially when you're not a guy that probably does a lot of training with changing direction to make tackles. That's not really what he's on the field for, or on the team for that matter. So it really sucks that something that was, could have potentially been avoidable. I mean, he was doing his job. No blame at all goes around. It's just a bummer that, something that like that happened in such an inconsequential part of the game, part of the field, overall, it just really sucks.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen people say, why was he running down the field to make the tackle? Guys, he probably does it all the time. I don't know for sure. I don't think anybody knows for sure, unless you've physically gone back and looked at every single game. I know most of the time he boots it out the back of the end zone, so most of the time he doesn't get a chance to do it. And he was amped up and he wanted to hit somebody. I think we've all been there. It's a fluke injury already, and, kickers don't get that opportunity. It's just one of those things that happens. I will take this sort of injury over whichever flying Gramatica brother got his torn ACL when he celebrated, 20 years ago, jumping up and down and tore it. These things happen. Knees are the dumbest ligament in the entire human body. I once read a pretty in-depth article from a doctor who did repairs on that, and it scared me half to death because, you could really tear your ACL just getting out of bed. That's how flimsy these things are. Let alone putting incredible pressure on it in a football game. So that sucks. They did find another guy from like Northwest Oklahoma State to come in. He's a kicker / punter. You have no idea anything about him. Maybe he's good, maybe he's not. It's just another body. I think Robert Meyer is going to be kind of the go-to guy since he's been in camp with this team since the fall. Yes, he is a freshman, but yeah, I mean, this is where we're at. I wrote in the Beyond the Box score. I was curious, what, how decision trees get altered because you no longer have anywhere close to a reliable field goal kicker. What are your thoughts on how this season plays out now that the one guy they trusted to kick is gone for the season?
I hope that it means there's a change in approach offensively, a change of play calling once the team crosses the 50-yard line, because historically in Eli Drinkwitz's time at Mizzou, going back to 2020 when Harrison Mevis was a freshman, he's known that he's had an absolute grenade launcher of a kicker that all he has to do is cross the 50 and there's a chance that they can get points out of it. That may not be the case anymore. We don't know about Robert Meyer. He could have a bazooka for a leg too. We don't know yet. Chances are, as the backup kicker, he probably doesn't have a bazooka like a Mevis or a Craig have shown. So hopefully that means there's going to be some alteration to that plan, meaning on those 4th and 1s from the 42-yard line, maybe they step on the gas a little bit more willing to be a little more aggressive in those situations, and less willing to settle for field goals. We got to the 42, 4th and 1, let's just kick it. Instead, it's 4th and 1, we could hand the ball off to Ahmad Hardy or to Roberts and get that first down, or we can do the same fake pitch that apparently they're still going to keep doing even without Luther Burden and without Brady Cook. You can do that one again because it still has yet to be stopped. So whatever the play call is, hopefully they do it and not settle for field goals, or even worse, punt the ball from plus territory, because that would be way worse. And that's kind of my fear.
That's the worry. That we assume that Eli Drinkwitz is a smart guy and that he can, see the advantages of going for it. And then we find out, oh no, you weren't just relying on your field goal kicker. You just are playing coward ball and trying to set up your defense for success. That is the worry, that we just see more punts from plus territory. I'm going to not believe that until I actually see it. I'm going to believe that he's going to understand what he has, especially from the running backs and from Bo Prabula, and the creativity that you can get into, even though we haven't seen it yet in 4th down. And then they'll be a little bit more aggressive, or at least, be a little bit more smart on how they handle 3rd down in particular, especially when you're looking for more manageable 4ths. Because it's until proven otherwise, I do not think 48, 49-yard field goals are going to be on the menu anymore. So
yeah, and they shouldn't unless it's a tie game with less than 2 minutes left. I mean, that's the time to take them. But that shouldn't be the strategy. And oftentimes, especially last year, and then sometimes later in Mevis's career, it seemed like that was the strategy. Let's just get into field goal range and kick a field goal. It almost seemed in some ways like we don't really care if we get a touchdown. Maybe we happen to break a big play and end up in a touchdown, but as long as we come away with 3 points, we're happy, and that is not the best strategy. My worry is he's going to just use this as an excuse to lean more on his defense, which should be the strength of the team anyway. But that's going to come around eventually and bite him in the butt when there's a big play here, or eventually that defense wears down again later in the season, because that's going to happen. So I'll be curious to see what the strategy is and how it changes.
Yeah. I mean, Missouri has had pretty terrible points per scoring opportunity in the past 2 years. 4.3 in 2023, 4.1 in 2024. Both of those are like 80th or worse in the country, and it's not because they were missing; it's because they were walking away with 3 points. So it's if you could get them inside the 10, oh man, they're great. They would finish with a touchdown a ton of times, like 90% of the time. It's just the play calling between the 29 and the 20 was like the dumbest. They forgot how to football. The offense just threw up on itself and couldn't figure out how to get out of there. And it was certainly most pronounced last year. So it's you got to figure it out, guys. You got to figure it out. Kirby Moore, you're 3. Let's get creative. Let's do something with it. And then along the lines of unforeseen potential consequences of a first game, Sam Horn is out for an extended period of time. Is the best answer we could get. I'm assuming that's pretty much what they know. I don't feel like they're hiding the ball here. But he's not playing this Saturday. He's probably not going to play the week after that. Have yet to hear what it actually was, just other than a lower leg injury. But here we are again, right? This is the Brady Cook conundrum. You have a quarterback who's good at running, who's pretty good at passing, but likes to run. Feels at home being mobile and moving around, and the depth behind him is suspect. Not as deep as you would like. So we're right back. Hey, in the past couple of years, how often do we run Brady Cook because we don't have anybody behind him? So that was how often do we run Bo Prabula because we don't have anybody behind him. And Eli Drinkwitz did the right thing, said, hey, we're going to let him play. We don't want him to think, we want him to play. But you can't help but wonder, hey, could you slide a little bit more and maybe stick it out of the pocket a little bit longer? What are your thoughts on Matt Zollers being QB2 at this point?
Right. I mean, that's not really the position you ever want to be in, where you're relying on a true freshman who played, I think, 2.5 high school games his senior year before suffering a devastating injury himself. Mm-hmm. So his experience level, and we know he's got the talent, and Drinkwitz reiterated that this week. He's got the talent. He's the future at the position, but he has less than zero experience, especially at this level. But even his high school level, he only started for, 2 and a third years at best. So very inexperienced. That's not a great position to be in. And then that's really all you got. Behind him is walk-on Tommy Locke, who hasn't gotten a single snap in his career. And no offense to Tommy, but I hope that remains to be the case, because if it does find his way onto the field, it's not really, something has gone horribly wrong.
Yep.
So I hope it doesn't change the play calling, but I also am going to be tight in the loins every time that Bo Prabula takes off and runs, because you're one hit away, one false step away from disaster at that point.
Yeah, it's exactly what happened last year. With Brady Cook, we had a Drew Pine that we could throw out there who looked awful for one game and good for like 2 quarters of another. You don't have that experience piece now. They didn't do that because they had Sam Horn and they had Matt Zollers, and there was no budget to bring in a transfer quarterback. So that's where we're at. I don't know. I think I think they're going to encourage him to stay in the pocket. I think they're going to call a lot more design runs that don't include a keeper on it, or maybe encourage the RPO to be more the P rather than the R, at least from the QBR. But you can never tell. We had one game with Prabula and Horn active, and we don't know what the game plan was going to be going forward. So it's impossible to tell. You just hope that everybody's okay and they don't get hurt. But also, Bo took a ton of hard hits and he bounced right back up. That's not always going to happen, but he's a tough kid. He'll be
he's
okay.
Definitely tough. But there's only so many bounce backs anybody's going to get. I mean, you could be Rocky and you get hit, and it makes getting the offensive line figured out all the more important, because now you really have one guy left that you trust at the position. So shoring up that he certainly can't take the number of hits going forward as he did against Central Arkansas, and that makes it a little more scary because it was Central Arkansas that was getting those hits on him. So what's a program with more talent and more depth going to be able to do? Hopefully the same or less, but we'll have to see. Starting this week.
Yeah. So a couple stray thoughts from Central Arkansas. I know there's a lot of things that we did not like about that game. There's a lot of things that we did like about the game, but I want to just highlight the offensive line real quick. I rewatched the game a couple of times. I was tracking offensive line specifically. I don't know how everybody else, defines hurries or pressures or anything like that. But I went through, and by my count, Connor Tollison, Curtis Peware, and Keegan Trost the 3 of them combined for 1 penalty, 0 pressures, and 0 sacks. Obviously, we know there's no sacks on that end, but the pressure part was really the important part to me. That's excellent. That's what you want. Obviously, you don't want the penalty. Whatever, we'll deal with it. Caden Green had 1 penalty, 1 sack allowed, and 1 hurry allowed. And then Dominic Giudice had 2 penalties and 2 hurries. So that's that. There's your problem. It's not the offensive line as a whole. It's those two. And I know they're college kids, but they're also getting paid, so I feel like I can at least call them out by name. And just for reference, Caden Green, as a guard last year, had a 0.8% pressure rate. That's over 397 pass blocking snaps. And then on Thursday, he allowed a 6.25% pressure rate on 32 pass blocking snaps. So I know, small sample size, but also FCS opponent. So that's the problem right there. And to counteract that, you don't pass as much, but he also wasn't super great in run blocking. How much longer are you going to let this experiment go?
I mean, it's got to go until there's that, it actually horribly affects the team one way or another. I mean, I'm not in the locker room. I'm not on the practice field, so I don't know what the other options are. Obviously, they weren't good. They were lacking enough that they thought that this was the best option. And we kind of have to trust Brandon Jones that this is the best option for now. He's got to go get more reps. I think the biggest issue for him, he's got the physical ability. He's got the talent. It's just getting the reps at that position. He's practiced for a year and all off season and most of fall camp at left guard. That's the spot he knows. That's the spot he could communicate. So I think you got to give him a few more weeks to see if he can figure it out, both on a assignment issue, because 1 or 2 of those pressures he gave up were just miscommunication or misassignment. One guy he let run free because I think he expected Jadis to get him, and Jadis was blocking another man, so it obviously wasn't Jadis's fault. So that was just not understanding whose assignment is who there. But then getting the technique, because left tackle versus left guard is a very different technique. You're retreating as a left tackle. You're retreating on those pass blocks. While as a guard, you're much more standing your ground. So just a different footwork and everything. Got to give him a chance to get it figured out. So, I mean, I'd have to say give him through the South Carolina game before and then you've got for at least a good sample size to figure out if this is going to work or not.
Yeah. And yeah, he could get better. I'm not saying that this is how he's going to be for the rest of the year. It's just jarring to see Caden Green perform like that. That's all. Yeah. So yeah, that's a problem. Really, the only other thing, the only other thing I could pick nits at was the defensive ends, and I know we talked about that a little bit immediately after the game was over. But Zion Young, Darius Smith, Langdon Kitchen, Nate Johnson, and Javian Hilson, and Dayton Hopkins, they were on the field for 114 snaps, and they combined for 4 total quarterback hurries. Now, that feels like it should be more against Central Arkansas, 4. But then again, if you're thinking of this from a pressure rate, that's a 16% pressure rate from those guys combined. So that's pretty good. That's really good, in fact. If you had a 16% pressure rate across the entire season, like, you're in a good spot. So mixed bag on that one. But everything else was just as awesome as we all thought it was live, which is great. You had Bo Prabula throw for over an 83% accuracy, which is only the 8th time this millennium that's happened. I thought that Ahmad Hardy was a little slow on his get off, but dominated the third quarter. Obviously, the receivers were catching deep balls. Defense was awesome. There's not a lot to complain about, but those are the 2 things I would pull out. Anything else sticking in your craw at this point?
I mean, to the point of the pressure rate, Central Arkansas was not dropping back to pass. I mean, anytime they did pass the ball, it was a one step and get the ball out, because they knew that there were some serious heat coming if they didn't get the ball out fast. So they ran the ball a lot to not great effect. The times they did throw it, it was quick out. There really wasn't an opportunity to even get pressure on the quarterback, because he was not taking those 3 or 5 step drops that are even going to give the opportunity to get pressure. So I'll defend it a little bit. There could have been a little more. David Wilson had 2 sacks. He was the only guy to actually get to the quarterback. It would have been nice to see 1 or 2 other guys get there. But also, I mean, Batoon was running a very vanilla game plan. just, keep everything in front of you. We're not going to show our cards. I expect to see a lot more interesting blitzes and pressures and sim pressures and stunts and things that, hopefully to catch Kansas off guard because they won't have seen them on tape yet.
Yeah, I agree. Nathan, how much do you hate Kansas?
Yes.
Yes. Cool.
Yes.
Now you're from Texas, so you've grown into the Missouri-Kansas rivalry. What was your first Kansas experience as a student?
So, I'm going to step back slightly sooner than being a student. My first Mizzou-Kansas experience was I was a junior in high school and got to go to the Big 12 basketball tournament in Dallas, which was an awesome experience, especially from a kind of a neutral fan, just to watch a ton of basketball. And that would have been 2002, I believe, which is the year Mizzou went on a run and made it all the way to the Elite Eight. They had a really fun team. I didn't really have a dog in that fight. I didn't know that I was going to Mizzou yet, but early on, saw how much fun that Mizzou team was, and kind of adopted them that weekend. They made it all the way to the championship game. Went way down to Oklahoma and came all the way back and almost won the damn thing at the end. They didn't quite get there, but it was a really fun team to watch. And I think it was the second game of that tournament they played Kansas, and I knew that was a rivalry. I didn't really know the history of the rivalry. I just knew that Mizzou and Kansas was a rivalry. I thought that was cool. I was like, oh, cool! I'm going to get to watch Mizzou Kansas this rivalry game. And it was not a full arena because it was in Dallas, so it was pretty unbiased overall. But kind of just seeing the passion from the Mizzou fans that were there, the Kansas fans that were there. I could immediately tell that they hated each other, and it was fun. And I was rooting for Mizzou because I had already kind of started to hate Kansas basketball, at least because they were always good. And I just was kind of my predilection to root for the underdog coming out. So I was already going to be rooting against them no matter who they were playing. But it was Mizzou was kind of the team I had adopted, and they won the game. And so I was all fired up. And so that was kind of my first introduction. And then my next introduction was as a freshman in Faurot. The last time Kansas won a game in Columbia was 2004. And that might have been I can't say if I was like the most pissed or upset that I was after a Mizzou football game, but it was up there very high because losing that game guaranteed that the 04 Mizzou team would not go to a bowl. That dropped them to 4-7, I believe, that year, or 4-6, I think, because they only played 11 games back then. 4-6, and they had one game left the next week, but they were already guaranteed to finish below 500. So that really upset me. And the fact that I knew I was supposed to hate Kansas, and Kansas was bad, and yet they still came in and won. And Mizzou played terribly, and that was kind of capped off a really disappointing season overall because Mizzou came in with a bunch of hype, kind of a dark horse pick to win the Big 12 North that year. Brad Smith had his big 8-3 season the year before, and the whole season kind of was a disaster. So that was my first as an actual Mizzou fan experience, and it sucked to be honest. And so it kind of really started to build that fire, that unquenchable fire against them, and it's never gone away.
It has not gone away. No. Yeah, I mean, I've gone over the story that my family has with running in with Kansas during the Civil War. I mean, my hatred's just as genetic as my patchy white trash beard, man. Like it's not a choice. It's just baked in. It's part of me. And it's been no fun to not be able to play them. Obviously you've had softball here or there, or basketball, obviously, but I'll speak for myself. That stuff doesn't speak to me. That doesn't hit the same way. I know I was a 90s, 80s, 90s kid, so I should be a basketball person. I'm just not. That's when Missouri basketball is good, and I love that they were good, but it's not. That does not move the needle for me. Missouri-Kansas football is what moves the needle for me. And so to not be able to play them has been really just no fun for college football in general, but certainly for Missouri football. So I will say it's going to be mixed emotions when those dirty terrorists take the field on Saturday. I'm going to boo my ass off, and I'm also going to be like, I'm so glad you're back. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for coming back. And
I
that's
won't
going to be weird.
I won't be glad that they're back, but I will be glad for the opportunity to beat them again.
There you go.
That's what I'll be glad for. The biggest bummer of all is the fact that these 14 years that this rivalry has taken a hiatus has been Kansas has been 14 years. Perhaps the worst, considering resources and everything, the worst program in the country. Now, they weren't as bad as like a Kent State or an Akron, perhaps, but they have way more resources than them. So, certainly in terms of power conference teams, the worst program in the entire country. I think Mizzou might still have close to, if not as many Big 12 wins as Kansas has since 2000, something like 2008, just because even though we haven't been in the conference in 14 years, just because Kansas didn't win a Big 12 game for close to a decade. So that's a pretty hilarious stat to throw out. So it's been nice to build. Mizzou owns a 3-game lead in the overall record. It would have been nice to pad that out by about 10 or 12 or 14.
Oh, yeah.
So that's the biggest missed opportunity there, is to really build a big lead in the overall series.
Have you ever seen the movie Ride with the Devil?
I've seen parts of it. I haven't seen the whole thing all the way through, but it's been on TV here and there. Like, I'll watch it. Watch half an hour here or whatever.
Yeah, I mean it's fine. It's a fine movie. It's highly fictionalized, but it's got Tobey Maguire as William Quantrill, which is very funny. But he does a pretty good job. And there's a killer speech in there. I put it in my preview for the game this week. I would suggest you go see it, or hell, Levi, you can play it now. It's very short. But it's one of those things that you're like, oh yeah. I can feel my ancestors getting riled up all over again when I hear that. So here's the thing. It's gonna be a lot of fun to have them on Faroe. Whatever you feel about them, it's going to be fun to have them back. Mr. Brightside is going to hit hard. The pop when Kansas takes the field is going to be noticeable. Every first down, every hit, every yard gain is going to be just the ultimate FU for a full 60 minutes, and it's going to be incredible. I can't wait. I'm going to the game. I'll be covering it in the press box. You see me running around. I'm the one with my hair on fire and yelling obscenities at people wearing blue and white.
It may be the last time you get a credential to the game.
I don't know. Maybe I'll get more because of it. You don't know. Weird, man. It's okay, man. I'm cool. So yeah, as far as the game goes, it's going to be tough. I think one of the funniest things that I've consistently seen is people like, oh yeah, Missouri is just a better team. They're going to overwhelm Jalen Daniels. That offense should really kill. 31-24. Like, it's just everyone's acknowledging this game is always weird. It's always close. And like, Eli Drinkwitz plays games close. So I think it's going to be incredibly uncomfortable 60 minutes. Really, the question is, can they get Kansas to pass? As soon as you get them unsettled and out of their funky formations and motions and stuff like that, as soon as you can do that and make Jalen Daniels throw, your recipe for success goes up substantially. Can they do that? They were kind of leaky when trying to cover Luther Richardson, the quarterback at Central Arkansas, and Jalen Daniels is better than that guy. What's your take on Missouri's defense versus the Kansas offense?
Yeah, I mean, shutting down the run, first and foremost, that's what they want to do, and that's what's going to take a lot of pressure off of Daniels to have to be the hero. And so if you stop the run, he's going to take on I have to be hero mantle. And if you get him off rhythm, he will give you the ball. He'll run around. He's very hard to bring down. He'll run back and forth and do circles and all this fun stuff. In some ways, a lot like Diego Pavia, but he's much more prone to then, get impatient at that point and just throw chuck it up. And so if you can get him off rhythm, get him in that, running, I mean, preferably get him on the ground, but get him running around like a chicken with his head cut off over and over and over again, he's going to find ways to get you the ball. He did that a lot last year. That was their biggest problem, honestly, even though he was relatively healthy, he turned the ball over quite a bit. So keep him off rhythm. Don't let him say, you kind of say a lot of times for these guys, you want to keep them in the pocket. And it would be great to keep him in the pocket, but as long as he's uncomfortable in the pocket, that's okay. But I'm okay with him running around in the backfield over and over and over again, because eventually he's just gonna just chuck it up and hope that something good happens. He is a good runner, and so if he breaks the line of scrimmage, he can hurt you with his legs. But I'm really much less worried about that than if he's in rhythm passing, finding open receivers, 3-step drop, get the ball out real fast. That's what they got to be able to prevent, to keep their offense from exploding too much.
Yeah. I mean, he is a good runner. I mean, he's averaging almost 6 yards a carry for his career, 19 touchdowns on the ground, over 1,400 yards once you take out the sacks. So he is good. It's the throwing that's susceptible. He's averaging 6.8 at adjusted net yards per attempt. That is not good. 6.7 for his career. And 22 and 23 were high watermarks, 9.1, 9.0, but those weren't full seasons. He would leave injured 9 games and 3 games into those seasons respectively. He had a full 12-game season last year, 6.8. 3.2% sack rate is pretty good, but 14 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. You might not bring him down, but to your point, he's going to just chuck it, and he's going to hope something good happens. So that is definitely what you want him to do. There's a nasty secret, and I don't know if it's a rumor or if it's improved or not, but a lot of coaches believe that he cannot read a defense very well. Obviously, he's better than like a Tyler Macon. Sorry, Tyler, that's a stray. But he is very much of the 1 read and go, or maybe 2 reads and go, which is why so many other passes are screens or quick hitches or slants and stuff like that, stuff close to the line. They don't want him to have to kind of progress through and read a defense to do that. They want him to just go. So if you can stall him, if you can create pressure or, kind of be an amoeba in the passing lanes and make him freak out, he is going to make snap decisions. And a lot of times it's the wrong one, or at least last year it was. So we'll see. Obviously he did take down 3 ranked teams in substantial weeks, back to back to back. Now, obviously, the whole team did that too, but he got better as the year went on. And, of course, they smoked Fresno State and then Wagner. I know it's Wagner, but whatever. Which does not tell you anything. I like to think that this team's going to be so athletic that he's not going to have a chance. But the Kansas defense is pretty good. Is it good enough to stop Bill Previla and Ahmad Hardy? What are your thoughts?
Their defense is okay. I'm not that concerned about it, to be honest. There is a concern. The concern is, and it goes back to what we've already talked about, what we talked about all offseason, is the offensive line. Can they figure out the offensive line enough to keep Previla standing up? All right. There will be a noticeable jump in talent level, especially on the defensive end and defensive line. Kansas does have a pretty good defensive line. That, I would say, is their one strong suit on their defense, is their defensive line. They've got 2 guys with 2 sacks already. DJ Withers, a defensive tackle. Leroy Harris III is one of their defensive ends with 2 sacks as well. The guy I'm concerned with, he didn't play in their first game. I think he was a little banged up, but he did play a little bit last game, is Dean Miller. He is a second-team All-Big 12 defensive end last year. Really good player. He's a speed rusher. So he's not going to blow you over, bulldoze you over, but he can get around the edge really fast. And if he's starting to get healthy, he's kind of a guy that can make your day very long if you don't find ways to slow him down. So I don't know if that means leaving a tight end out there to help help a tackle if regularly as kind of a 6th offensive line. That might be an option. But that's the one concern I have with this defense and slowing them down, is if they can give Previla time to throw the ball, and then obviously it starts with running the ball. If they can run the ball effectively and give him time to throw the ball, I think they're going to be fine. They do have a linebacker that one of their better players, Bengali Kamara, who is hurt. I think he's going to be out. I believe he will be out this week.
They have not rolled him out yet, but
reading between the lines, it doesn't seem good for him to play. But you never know if he could show up and decide to play. But he's out. I'm not really too concerned about their secondary, to be honest. I mean, they're just kind of some dudes. So as long as Previla has time to throw, they're not dude person like Central Arkansas had. But they are some dudes. So there's some guys.
So one of the big things with Kansas is that their offense is super old. Of their starters, only 2 are not seniors, and they're on the offensive line, and they're pretty good. So it's super old and knows what it's doing. Also, by the way, it's the 11th best offense in the country if you ask SP+. On the flip side, that defensive line, all seniors. Linebackers, now you have a freshman and a junior. Secondary, sophomore. Senior, sophomore, freshman. That's where you need to go. You got to pick on the young guys. That's what you want to do. And if the offensive line can give you, an iota of a moment to throw it, take it. But I still think that this approach needs to be smash a smash. Don't let him pass rush. Keep him off, wear him down. Ahmad Hardy, get 25 carries. And then let's go start taking some deep shots against a secondary that should be baited up. So that's just me. I'm sitting in my basement. I'm not paid to do this, but that's how I would do it. What's your prediction for the game?
I think you said it's going to be kind of a frustrating. I agree. I think this is going to play out a lot like ultimately how the Boston College game played out last year, to be honest. Kind of not necessarily similar offenses, but similarly constructed rosters. If Kansas might have a tad bit more talent overall. But I kind of see this playing out. Now, I don't necessarily see Mizzou falling down 14-3, or at least I hope that's not the case early on. But kind of that where Mizzou has control most of the game, but then you're never fully locked down until the very end. It kind of gets a little hairy towards the end, whether it's because of a Hail Mary deep pass or whatever. It's not. I don't think it's going to be a super comfortable win, but I do think Mizzou will hold on. That 6.5 point spread sounds pretty on the money to me. I think Mizzou will end up winning by a touchdown. Somewhere between a field goal and a touchdown, but I think probably about a touchdown sounds about right to me. So, if I'm going to throw a score prediction out there, something around the lines of 31-24, 28-21, something around there.
Yeah, I was going to say 27-24, but just win. 2-0. Just win. I don't care. Okay. Well, good luck. Ride to Lawrence. Burn it down.
Let the hate flow.
Yeah.
Yes.
Be responsible. Don't attack anybody. But
responsible
if you make threats, you can make threats.
As long as they're not actionable threats.
Right. Just wear a shirt that says everything that I say today is not actionable, and then have a lawyer sign off on it. That's how you get out of it. It's okay. That's the show for today. As always, we appreciate the downloads and the subscriptions. You can leave a comment or rate us. We love all types of feedback. You can follow us on Twitter at Matt and H.E. Edwards. He's at Burst to Hurst. And, of course, you can follow the Rock M flagship at Rock M Nation and the podcast and outlet at Rock M Radio. We appreciate you tuning in this time. We'll try to do better next time. And until then, MIZ.
FKU.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to Rock M Radio, a proud partner of Fans First Sports Network. Rock M Radio is the official podcast network of Rock M Plus, a new and exciting subscription service provided by me and the other voices of Rock M Radio. Please take a few moments to head over to rockm.plus and sign up for an account today. The cost is only $5 a month, and the benefits include access to our live podcast, a subscriber-only message board, weekly newsletters, and more. If you enjoyed this episode of Rock M Radio and would like to see more just like it beamed directly into your personal device, make sure to click the subscribe button below and tell your friends. Our podcast feed is available through the Apple Podcast app for iPhone, Google Podcast app for Android, whatever app you listen to your podcast. You can also find Rock M Radio on Spotify. If you're looking for a podcast about your favorite team that is not the Missouri Tigers, Fan First Sports Network is your answer. A full podcast network loaded with the team-specific podcasts covering Major League Baseball, the NFL, NHL, NBA, MLS, and more. And we'll be back with more episodes of Rock M Radio coming to you soon.
Something about the holidays really changes how you see your house. It's basically a reality check. Like how no matter what, the party always ends up in the kitchen. And my kitchen is so not great. I never think about the guest bathroom until it's being judged by actual guests. And the sheer number of kids in and out of our house over break, they definitely need their own hangout space. To top it off, my New Year's resolution to exercise more might actually have a fighting chance if we had a home gym. That's why I've been thinking about Mosby Building Arts. They're a remodeling company here in St. Louis that understands how real life plays out at home. So no matter what room could use a refresh, Mosby can help. Check out callmosby.com for inspiration. Then call 314-909-1800 to schedule your free in-home brainstorming session. It's a great way to start the year. That's callmosby.com, 314-909-1800.